Hello, hello, this is Fear Dragon coming at you with another StarCraft 2 netcast. Today we have yet another Terran versus Terran from Dreamhack Valencia 2012. We're moving in to the finals of this tournament, and I am really excited to see who's going to end up coming out on top. So let's go ahead and jump in and introduce these players without further delay. Spawning down here in the bottom left-hand corner of Cloud Kingdom, we have the one, the only LiquidTaeja, representing Team Liquid. He has been fighting so hard in this tournament to make it all the way to the finals, and now finally here he is representing Team Liquid. He's going to be looking to take it for fame, for glory, and just to add one more big win to his long series of recent wins that he's been, gathering up as of lately. And now his opponent, spawning up here in the top right-hand corner of Cloud Kingdom as the red Terran player representing Team Millenniums. It is none other than MilleniumForGG. MilleniumForGG, well known by most StarCraft 2 pro players as a very scary Terran, also a very aggressive Terran, and we're going to see how well he's going to be able to do. He is definitely top-notch, an ex-Brood War player, and really he is going to be one of the favorites to win in this Terran versus Terran, but still, is specifically against Taeja. I feel like he's going to be coming into this being a bit of the underdog, but you know what? 4GG is going to be looking to prove me wrong. We're going to see what he has planned to do. And, actually just speaking of which, we already see that gas geyser coming down for 4GG. And that kind of indicates he's going to be putting on something a bit more aggressive. Whereas Taeja sitting on no gas geysers taken. And actually just now building that barracks. And, oh man, Taeja looks like he might actually want to expand sometime in the near future. And this is just going to be so indicative of the kind of playstyles that both these players go for. LiquidTaeja really just goes in and leaps into full stride in that late game scenario. And meanwhile, 4GG really takes his stride. Not necessarily only in the early game, but really when he's aggressive. And, I will be expecting him to put on some additional aggression. Wouldn't be too surprised to see there's the Tech Lab coming out and maybe pressuring with a Marauder, maybe some Marines, or maybe, I actually don't know. This could actually just be to get out an early combat shields, but actually no, we have a Reaper. A Reaper opening from 4GG, and actually this is a very, it's not done all the time, but it is still a common enough opening that, Taeja should be aware of the possibility of it. And of course, the Reaper opening is also going to be, of course, followed up by an expansion, because this is going to be something that a lot of people love to call the Reaper Expand. Yes, the Reaper expansion. So basically what this allows you to do is that Reaper can go ahead, jump into your opponent's base. It forces these Marines to be over here rather than moving out across the map. And of course, the Reaper will just pop right in, go ahead and get a little bit of scouting information, try and pick off maybe 2 SCVs, and maybe even just 1 SCV and a Marine. That'd be a pretty decent trade. But mainly, you're going to be able to get some good scouting information. As you can see, compare this to what Taeja sees. Taeja sees that there is a barracks. But of course he did see that gas, so you might actually be expecting this. But in the meanwhile, 4GG just now scouting out a lot of that, and actually does get that scouting information off. Should have actually seen that reactor being built, so yes, he should know what Taeja's up to. And meanwhile, Taeja going ahead, getting that command center up into an orbital command as well. And by the time this command center, or I should say this orbital command, floats over to the natural expansion, this command center should be relatively close to being done as an orbital command. So, it works out pretty well. And of course, actually, Taeja, not too sure if his opponent has expanded yet, is actually going to go ahead and wait just a little bit before he ends up lifting off this command center. Maybe just wants to make sure that he's not about to get some kind of big pressure play from some Marauders or something, some kind of follow-up from this Tech Lab barracks. Now we do see, it looks like 4GG not wanting those supply depots that don't belong to him, is going to go ahead and eliminate that. And I don't really blame him too much. I have oftentimes made a couple of just small micro mistakes with that supply depot there. It can get a little bit annoying. And, you know, oh, actually, Taeja throwing down the scan. And actually, we do see it looks like he might actually be going for some a Raven early on, or even some Cloak Banshee. We're going to have to wait and see. But yeah, you know, Taeja does end up seeing exactly what 4GG is up to in terms of he sees that these 2 reactors are down. He also should relatively be able to expect, hey, you know, based on what I saw in my opponent's main base, I'm pretty sure the expansion is down at this point, unless he's hiding some extra barracks over there or something crazy like that. But of course, I don't believe that Taeja thinks he's about to get all in, and we do actually see, yes, there we see it, the Banshee coming out for LiquidTaeja, and actually Cloak being researched as well. So we're going to see how 4GG is going to be able to prepare for this. He does have quite a few Marines coming out. As you know, the Marine count will definitely be there, as well as, oh my god, Stim actually already complete, and that's one of the big advantages that he had from getting that very early tech lab along with that Reaper is, you know, with that early tech lab, you're allowed to immediately start researching that Stim. And, you know, at this point, he has Stim done. And of course, you look over here at Taeja, and he has not even begun Stim. I mean, Taeja is actually just going ahead, cranking out those Banshees, which is, of course, going to set his tech a little bit further behind. But at the same time, he is also getting out some of those siege tanks, actually getting siege mode as well. And meanwhile, 4GG moving out across the map. Oh my god, 4GG might actually be able to intercept this Banshee. Oh no, he's actually not going to see it. And now this Banshee is going to be able to do some nice damage over here, as 4GG only really has 5 Marines to really do any kind of defense. And oh god, for a second I thought he was about to move out with it, but now we see the Cloak coming down. Is there any energy saved up? No energy saved up on either of these 2 orbital commands. He's just going to go ahead and try and move in, see how much damage you can do with these Marines. But of course, Taeja does have that siege tank with siege mode just now completing just in time. And now he's going to be able to do some massive damage to these Marines. And at the same time, this Banshee is wreaking havoc on 4GG's expansion. We do see the Banshee does get taken out with, you know, a good number of kills, though 6 SCV kills with that, you know, missile turret finally going up, and a wasted scan. So definitely worth it for Taeja, even with the researching of that Cloak that does set him a little bit behind, but still warding off all that aggression from 4GG without really losing a whole lot, and getting up his siege tank with, siege tank with siege mode, and also just being able to tech. And you know what, now he does still have that tech lab. He was able to swap it onto that barracks and begin researching that Stim, at the same time also getting combat shields out, because you know what, he knows, he saw that 4GG tried to poke with that Marine force. Now he knows, hey, my opponent took a bunch of damage, he stimmed up once, he took some tank fire shots, and now I know at least half of his army is going to be really low on health. So what can he do until he gets out these medevacs that he is now going for, as he needs to heal up his army before he can be aggressive again? So hey, Taeja's free flying. He's going to be shooting the breeze. He's going to go ahead and just tech up, get out these 2 upgrades, up his siege tank count just a little bit. It looks like he's actually even being a little bit defensive with this siege tank position, maybe just preparing for some incoming drops, as we do actually end up seeing the medevacs going to be popping out in just a couple seconds. But yeah, of course, Taeja also capable of getting out some medevacs of his own. Doesn't look like he's opting to do it just quite yet. Just adding on those barracks and getting that tech up. And actually adding on a second factory is going to allow him to up that tank production as well. And meanwhile, we do see 4GG grabbing that 3rd command center, as it looks like he wants to maybe take this out into a later game. We can even see he has that armory. And you know, speaking of armory, let's go ahead and take a look at the upgrades for 4GG. We did end up seeing him researching a +1/+1 a little while ago. As already started +2/+2, so that's going to be one advantage for him, because Taeja is only now going to be finishing up +1/+1, and you know, +2/+2 is going to be quite a ways away. So that's going to give 4GG the opportunity to say, hey, you know what? The longer this game goes, the better I'm going to feel about it. So we see that, you know, Taeja really finding his advantage in all his unit producing structures and that tech. Meanwhile, we see that 4GG really taking his advantage in those upgrades and potentially soon to be his economy. Although actually I take it back that, as we do end up seeing that Taeja also growing ahead and throwing down the command center is going to be preparing for that 3rd, but at the same time you have to remember that Taeja still has those 2 siege tanks, and that's going to be a very, very scary thing for 4GG to actually come in and deal with, as you know, if just a couple of tank shots on those Marines will just decimate their health, even with that very critical combat shields. Now we do see that there is a single tank out without even siege mode. Siege mode only halfway completed out for 4GG. And actually, really interesting decision by Taeja. Has this drop over here positioned, and he does have an idea that oh my god, yeah, he definitely knows 4GG is moving down across the map, actually even going to take out these rocks maybe just as a retreat path. But we do actually see Taeja moving in with a dropship of Marines, and that's actually going to pull all of 4GG's army back. I think this might actually be a little bit of an overreaction from 4GG's. We can even see just some of those units at home were able to clean up everything, and 4GG able to pull, or Taeja able to pull 4GG's army all the way back home and just buy him a little bit more time, able to get out a couple of more siege tanks and a couple more Marines. And hey, now 4GG doesn't even feel safe really pushing out across the map. And actually, Taeja feeling safe, pushing out a little bit. Gonna go ahead and seize control of the Zelnaga Watchtower and potentially start taking control of the center. And that's gonna be so important. But of course, at the same time, you have to remember that if he decides to take control of the center, he has to be very wary of the potential for things like drops and such. And now we do end up seeing 4GG trying to position himself to put on a little bit of aggression over at Taeja's third, while he secures his third over on the other side of the map. By forcing Taeja into this position, he's going to secure his own third. But we do see the big engagement of the siege tanks for Taeja actually is sieging up just a couple of seconds too late. And unfortunately for Taeja, he's not really getting off the great shots, but there are a couple of good ones. Wow. So 4GG accidentally running in a little bit too far, kind of extending his reach a little bit further than it should be, as look at this magnificent siege tank count for Taeja in comparison to these paltry 3 for 4GG. But again, 4GG does have those 2-2 upgrades, although, Taeja is going to be finished with his 2-2 upgrades in just a couple of seconds, so that advantage is going to be nullified very, very soon. And look at this. This Marine count is actually pretty amazing for Taeja and 4GG, but, Taeja just has the bigger army advantage. That's all I can say. But of course, at the same time, you have to remember 4GG is the one being aggressive, so he can try and find these cute little angles that he can be aggressive at, where these tanks counts won't factor in quite as much, just because he has to try and cover 2 angles. We do see all the Marines stemming out for 4GG, and he's taking a lot of tank fire right now, but he's able to take out quite a few of those tanks. But the Marines from Taeja are able to force back a lot of the Marines from 4GG. Now 4GG is able to take out that 6th gas geyser for Taeja, and that's going to be quite annoying, especially when both these players want to be producing as many siege tanks as they can right now. But you have to remember that 4GG has lost quite a substantial portion of his army. He's going to be trying to, oh my god, he could actually come in with a flanking position over here, and we do see Taeja actually stemming in, seeing how much damage he can do. Actually ends up taking out one of the tanks, and actually might even be able to get some of these medevacs, and that's going to be a huge win for him if he's able to even take out a lot of these Marines. But look at this, 4GG coming in with the reinforcements, and is actually going to take the favor back in his own favor, and able to take out all of those Marines from Taeja. So Taeja force back, and look at this. Now we have siege tanks undefended by Marines, and that's going to be very, very scary for Taeja. And we do actually see Taeja did move in with these units over here. It looks like he wanted to do a little bit of damage, but was caught by this reinforcing group of Marines and these the siege tank, as well as these 2 medevacs from 4GG. And oh my god, they're just going to go ahead and chase Taeja all the way down across the map, but are able to snipe off the medevac. Definitely a win for him, and even potentially might get the snipe off. No, not actually going to get that interception. But, we come back through all of that. We have to remember, okay, 4GG still has that lead in the upgrades, as 3-3 is about to complete, so he's going to take it back, at least momentarily, as Taeja is still a bit behind in those upgrade counts. But we go ahead and look at the siege tank upgrade count, and we see +1 weapons done for Taeja, and +0/+0 for 4GG. And, 4GG is actually researching +1, but oh my god, what is this? Hold that thought, guys. Taeja and 4GG just completely bypassing each other's armies, and Taeja's actually going to be able to come in, snipe off that third, and go ahead and siege up right now. He needs to siege up before 4GG is able to bring his entire army over here. We see a couple of siege tanks sieging up over there, and there are the rest of them. And now Taeja's going to be able to do a massive amount of damage as all of these Marines from 4GG trying to limbo line their way in, but still able to do a lot of damage to Taeja's Marine count. And oh my god, Taeja looking to do a little bit of drop play into that main of 4GG, get on top of those production facilities, and this is going to be so difficult for 4GG to deal with. He does have one very nice, actually 2 very nice sieged up siege tanks, so they're definitely going to be able to defend a lot of those buildings, but one of the starports is taken out, and meanwhile, you know, it's going to be very difficult for 4GG to actually move in and try and take out this massive siege tank ball, but we do see here is the problem with what Taeja is doing right now. You know, this is a fantastic play. He was able to take out the third. He was able to do all this, but look at this. What is there to defend at home? Taeja has nothing at home. He has just a small group of Marines and 2 siege tanks against this ginormous group of Marines. And you know, if Taeja does not get those 2 siege tanks sieged up in a good position and take a defensive stance, oh my god, the Marines are Taeja walking just a little bit too far. They're going to lose quite a few of them right now. We see 4GG stimming in, taking a bunch of these Marines' lives from Taeja, and now the siege tanks also cleaned up. It looks like now 4GG gonna return the favor, gonna go ahead and snipe off that third command center. And at the same time, though, you have to remember this drop is still going on from Taeja. He's doing good on our damage. He's cut off all of the mining of gas from these 2 gas guys, and that's gonna definitely hurt 4GG for now. But at the same time, 4GG going ahead and establish that third over there, and you know, that's with a planetary fortress. And oh my god, even sniping off another command center from LiquidTaeja. 4GG is looking to be in a great position to take this game once he can clean up this drop over here. We can even see he is starting to reclaim control. He's starting to just dwindle this siege or the Marine count, and with that Marine count dwindling, you know, it's going to be very difficult for Taeja to actually be able to deal with anything like Marine drops on top of these siege tanks, or even just this high ground vision that looks like, oh my god, 4GG able to just take out so many of those tanks right there with 3 siege tanks of his own. And oh man, I feel like Taeja is going to need to somehow take out this expansion while, you know, 4GG is kind of stuck trying to take out this army over here. And actually it looks like Taeja trying to get the pickup, but it looks like, oh no, they're intercepted by a group of Marines, and they stem up, try to take out as much of the army of Taeja as they can, and they actually take 1 big tank fire shot and 2 tank fire shots. But still, I feel like 4GG came out on the better side of that engagement, as you have to remember, 4GG has this third, and you know, Taeja does have his main base command center lifted off and gone over to that third. It's going to help him with that income just a little bit, but oh man, Taeja is going to be hurting, especially when it comes to the siege tank count. Now we can see, look at this siege tank count of 4GG in comparison to the siege tank count of Taeja. It is, you know, substantially further ahead. The one thing that Taeja does have going for him are those upgrades, as 3 weapons level 3 on those siege tanks is going to be finishing up in just a couple of seconds. And meanwhile, 4GG kind of lacking behind, only on +1, now starting +2. But you know, 4GG just going to have the better economy. He's reestablishing this base over here with that command center from his main. A couple of Marines going to be able to run in, do a little bit of damage, and I don't expect them to be able to kill off too many SCVs. Able to get, you know, 3 or 4 SCVs, and that's going to pull 4GG a little bit out of position. But this is actually the trademark Taeja that everyone knows and loves. You go ahead and use just a couple of units, pull your opponent out of position, and take it as an opportunity to move your entire army ahead. Look at that great spread, actually killing off that planetary fortress, only losing about 5 or 6 Marines. Actually a really great play, but look at this. 4GG just moving in for the counterattack with all those Marines, and now Taeja, you know, he cannot actually move into the siege tank count, and that siege tank line is just going to be too strong. So now Taeja has to back up, but at the same time he's going to go ahead and lose his natural expansion, and now this Marine force is going to go ahead and move over to that third. What is Taeja going to do? He's going to even lose that critical siege tank that he needs, and now he's going to even end up losing the siege tank on the high ground. There's the GG from Taeja, and that's actually going to put this best of 5 series into 4GG's favor. Now, I believe this is a best of 5 series. I might need to double check that it's not a best of 7 series, but that we do know that is not a best of 3 series. And of course, 4GG going to be leading 1-0 in the series. This is going to be from Dreamhack Valencia 2012 finals. This is game number 1, and of course, please, if you are seeing this, please be tuning in to the URTL. That's the Underrated Team League. I'll leave a link in the description below, as it's an event that I've been casting for. I'm actually casting tonight, tonight being Thursday. So if you are catching this before I actually go live, I don't actually think this video will be able to come out before I end up going live, but if you do so happen to be able to catch it, please go ahead and do that. I'm usually casting Tuesdays and Thursdays around 7 p.m. Eastern or 9 p.m. Eastern. So yeah, go ahead and check that out. And of course, check it out on all the other days, as there are some fantastic casters as well. Tonight, really excited, Casting Team Light. So yeah, please go ahead and tune into that if you can. And yeah, just actually in regards to that, just because a lot of my time is going to be eaten up by that, and of course I'm still a student, still attending Purdue University, I am going to be so busy. So I'm actually going to go ahead and finish up this series over the course of the next couple of days. So no game number 2 coming out today, but please tune in for it in the future. It's going to be coming out very, very soon, I promise. Probably tomorrow. But anyways, that's it. That's all for me. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Please subscribe, like, comment, and I will see you guys next time.